King Harris just got caught in the middle of a leak that has the whole internet talking, and Boosie wasted no time clowning T.I. without mercy. Welcome back to Celebrity Sip, where we spill the stories everyone else is too scared to touch. If you're new here, make sure you hit that subscribe button real quick so you don't miss the next drop. Now, let's get into it. The chaos began when whispers of a private tape allegedly involving King Harris surfaced online, and within hours it was everywhere. What made it explode wasn't just the footage itself, but the fact that it targeted the son of one of hip-hop's most respected veterans, T.I. Unlike ordinary gossip, this wasn't some vague rumor that could be brushed off. It was visual. It spread like wildfire across social media platforms, and fans couldn't stop dissecting every second of what they thought they saw. The moment the link appeared in a few group chats and underground blogs, screenshots and snippets started hitting Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Some people claimed it was definitely him, others argued it was fabricated, but the damage was already done. In today's digital world, once something like this leaks, the control is gone forever. What shocked people even more was the speed at which the story climbed out of fan circles and into the mainstream gossip pages. Normally, artists and celebrity kids have a little bit of cushion before a rumor turns into a trending topic, but King Harris didn't get that luxury. By the end of the day, the tape had become the #1 subject under hip-hop hashtags, drawing in fans, trolls, and critics alike. Insiders close to the Harris family were quick to claim that the footage was either edited or completely fake, but that didn't stop the conversation. In fact, the denials almost fueled the fire, with people digging deeper and sharing even more supposed proof across social feeds. The controversy tapped into two explosive elements. First, the invasion of privacy that comes with a leak like this, and second, the spectacle of seeing a rap legend's son caught in the middle of a scandal no one expected. The situation didn't just raise questions about authenticity. It also created a storm of speculation about who had access to something so private and why it came out now. Was it a setup, a betrayal from someone close, or just an internet troll chasing clout? Whatever the case, it was clear this wasn't going away quietly. And just when it seemed like things couldn't get worse, another voice jumped in that made everything 10 times louder. Boosie wasted no time turning the situation into a circus. The moment the tape started trending, he went live and cracked jokes at T.I.'s expense, calling out the Harris family in a way that felt more like stand-up comedy than commentary. For Boosie, who has built a reputation on saying the wildest things with no filter, this was the perfect storm, an opportunity to clown one of his longtime industry peers while entertaining an audience hungry for drama. His tone wasn't subtle either. He laughed at the idea of T.I. having to deal with his son in this kind of scandal, poked fun at King Harris's reputation for being outspoken, and made sly comments that kept fans replaying his live streams just to catch every jab. The timing of Boosie's response only amplified the situation. Within hours of the leak, his voice became the loudest one in the room. And once he had added fuel to the fire, countless others jumped in. Fans clipped his reaction, reposted it across Instagram, and turned it into meme content that spread even faster than the tape itself. Suddenly, the narrative wasn't just about King Harris's alleged tape. It was about Boosie roasting T.I. like it was a comedy special. What made it even harsher was the long-standing tension between T.I. and Boosie. Their friendship has gone through ups and downs, especially after their highly publicized fallout over snitching accusations and trust issues. So when Boosie started clowning, it didn't feel like just a random joke. It felt personal, like he was taking the chance to twist the knife. Industry insiders and fans alike saw the mockery as a sign that the relationship between the two rappers might be permanently fractured. As the internet piled on, some people defended King Harris, saying Boosie went too far, while others cheered him on for being real. Either way, Boosie had succeeded in shifting the spotlight from a private leak into a public humiliation. And the conversation was no longer just about the tape. It was about how mercilessly one rapper was willing to clown another. But the question remained, how would T.I. and his family handle the ridicule once it reached this level? T.I.'s response came slower than fans expected, but when it did, it was clear he wasn't laughing. Unlike Boosie, who thrives on spectacle, T.I. approached the situation with a mix of frustration and caution. Early reports suggested he was furious behind the scenes, weighing legal options to track down whoever leaked the footage in the first place. For a man who has carefully built his legacy over 2 decades, the idea of his son being dragged into scandal was more than just embarrassing. It was a direct attack on his family name. Publicly, T.I. tried to downplay the chaos, hinting that people were blowing things out of proportion and that certain clips were taken out of context. But those attempts at control only did so much. In today's culture, silence is often interpreted as guilt, and any statement, no matter how measured, risks fanning the flames. That was exactly the dilemma T.I. faced. If he spoke too much, he kept the story alive. If he said too little, people assumed the worst. Behind the curtain, insiders claimed the Harris household was in damage control mode. PR teams were scrambling to contain the narrative, while lawyers explored whether the tape's distribution crossed lines into defamation or revenge-style leaking. Some close to the family whispered that T.I. was more concerned about how this might impact future business deals, brand endorsements, and his standing in the industry than the online chatter itself. He's been around long enough to know that reputations can take years to build and seconds to ruin. At the same time, critics pointed out contradictions in his messaging. On one hand, T.I. projected the image of a father defending his son's privacy. On the other, he couldn't ignore the public spotlight that came with being part of a rap dynasty. The inconsistency gave trolls more ammunition, with memes circulating that mocked both father and son. For King Harris, that meant his father's careful maneuvers weren't enough to shield him from the ridicule. For T.I., it meant his every move was being scrutinized, not just as an artist, but as a parent. And the one thing he couldn't control was how much this scandal was eating away at his son directly. For King Harris himself, the fallout hit like a tidal wave. Overnight, he went from being known as the bold, outspoken son of a rap legend to becoming the centerpiece of a viral scandal. Unlike his father, King didn't have the buffer of decades in the industry to rely on, and that made him a much easier target. The internet can be brutal, and within hours he was trending across platforms with memes, clips, and commentary tearing him apart. Some mocked him relentlessly, while others framed him as a victim of betrayal and exploitation. Either way, his name was everywhere, and the weight of public opinion was crushing. Those close to him said he was furious and embarrassed, feeling cornered by a situation he didn't create but couldn't escape. The speculation about whether the footage was real or fake only added to the pressure. If it was real, then his privacy had been shattered in the worst possible way. If it was fake, then his reputation was still permanently stained by something he didn't even do. For a young man still trying to carve out his own identity apart from T.I.'s shadow, this scandal was more than humiliating. It threatened to define him. Even more painful was the impact on his relationship with his father. King has always had a reputation for being outspoken and rebellious, often clashing with the expectations placed on him as the son of a rap mogul. Now, with the leak turning into an industry-wide conversation, that tension only grew sharper. Was he angry at T.I. for not protecting him fast enough? Was T.I. frustrated with his son for becoming a liability in the public eye? The questions swirled, and fans speculated on every possible angle. Rumors began to circulate that someone close to King may have set him up, either for clout or revenge, which only deepened the sense of paranoia. Trust became scarce, and whispers of betrayal made the scandal even darker. For King, the emotional toll was undeniable. He was left to face not just the judgment of millions of strangers, but also the burden of being the weak spot through which his father's empire was attacked. And just when it seemed like the story might calm down, new rumors threatened to take the chaos even further. The scandal didn't stop at the leak itself. Soon after, the internet began churning out a storm of rumors and wild theories that took the chaos to another level. Some claimed that the tape wasn't leaked accidentally at all, but deliberately set up by someone in King Harris's circle. The speculation pointed fingers at everything from jealous friends to bitter exes, with many suggesting that the timing felt too calculated to be random. Others went deeper, pushing conspiracy-style claims that the leak was part of a larger plot to tarnish T's reputation by targeting his son. Social media platforms became breeding grounds for these theories, with threads dissecting every tiny detail, from the background of the footage to the way it first surfaced online. People began questioning whether the leak was authentic, arguing that the footage might have been edited, staged, or even AI-generated to look like King. But instead of calming things down, the doubts only fueled curiosity, and every new explanation seemed to give the story fresh legs. Some rumors dragged in even bigger names, suggesting rival camps in the industry could have played a role in exposing the tape. It wasn't long before whispers turned into headlines, and what started as gossip became the centerpiece of blog posts and YouTube commentary channels eager to cash in on the spectacle. On top of that, speculations about King Harris's personal life exploded. Questions about his relationships, his behavior online, and even his own image of being outspoken and rebellious suddenly became tied to the leak. Fans and critics alike debated whether he was being reckless or if he was simply an easy target because of who his father is. What made this layer of rumors particularly damaging was how impossible they were to fully dismiss. Once an idea circulates online, even the most ridiculous claims can stick, and people start treating speculation as fact. The more the Harris family pushed back, the more people assumed they were hiding something. By this point, the scandal had grown beyond the tape itself. It had become a narrative machine, fueled by suspicion, betrayal, and conspiracy. And as the noise kept building, the question shifted from whether the footage was real to what this chaos would mean for the family's legacy moving forward. What became clear as the dust settled was that this leak wasn't just about King Harris. It was about the bigger picture of how scandals can reshape legacies and power dynamics in the entertainment world. For years, T.I. has carried himself as one of the South's most respected voices in hip-hop, building not only a music career but a brand that extended into business, television, and culture. The Harris family was seen as rap royalty, but this scandal cracked that image wide open. It forced fans and critics alike to question how much privacy celebrities and their families really have in the digital era, and whether any amount of influence or money can protect against exposure. The situation also highlighted the fragile nature of alliances within the rap game. Boosie's decision to publicly mock T.I. showed that rivalries and personal grievances can turn a private problem into an industry-wide spectacle. Suddenly, other artists were watching closely, some quietly siding with Boosie's raw honesty, while others distanced themselves to avoid being caught in the crossfire. That kind of division can have long-term effects, shifting how collaborations form and how legacies are perceived. For King Harris, the scandal raised difficult questions about his future. Would he be able to step out of his father's shadow and establish his own path? Or would this leak follow him wherever he goes? Public memory is harsh, and even if the controversy dies down, the screenshots and memes live forever. For T.I., the stakes were just as high. As a father, he had to navigate defending his son while also protecting the empire he's built. As an artist, he faced the challenge of keeping his credibility intact in an industry that often weaponizes personal drama. The broader implication is chilling. In a world where technology makes it easy to share and distort content, anyone, even the family of a legend, can become a target overnight. Legal moves might silence some voices, but the internet rarely forgets, and reputations can be shaped by narratives beyond anyone's control. What started as a private violation had spiraled into a defining moment for the Harris name, one that could echo far longer than anyone expected. At the end of the day, this story was never just about a leaked tape. It was about how fast the internet can flip someone's world upside down. King Harris found himself at the center of a storm he didn't ask for, while Boosie turned it into a stage to throw shots, and T.I. was forced to defend both his son and his legacy in real time. The rumors, the memes, the speculation, they've all left scars that won't fade overnight. What happens next is still unclear, but one thing's for sure: the Harris family name will never be looked at the same way again.